Now let's discuss the announcement itself, which is Trump saying that he's going to oversee a federal takeover of DC. His argument being crime's just too out of control. We have to send in the National Guard and federalize local law enforcement. So there's going to be federal control over law enforcement in DC. Now, I'll play this for you. We'll go through clips. I'll give my takes as we go along. Obviously, a lot of people are bringing up reasonably, wait, we just, right as you were entering office, we just got news that there's this huge plummet in violent crime in DC. That kind of runs against there's a crisis. But in authoritarian ideology, there always has to be a crisis. And then so that you have justification for that same hammer that you just hit with everything. He did it in LA. LA didn't need him with those protests that some turned into riots. And they ended up, local law enforcement was the one who got it under control. And National Guard was completely unnecessary. And it was wasted resources. And so similarly here, he has to create the crisis, pretend there's a crisis, so then he can justify using that same hammer, which is the show of force. But first, let me play this announcement, then I'll give more takes and responses. Oh, here we go. Let's see.
Serious purpose, very serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse.
And the medians, they're falling apart, as he said in the last segment.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that.
The other thing is Trump wanted to come in office, despite him pardoning criminals, thousands, and specifically pardoning assaulters of law enforcement. Despite his terrible record as he was leaving office with crime, he wants to, as all of these sorts of politicians do, they want to be seen as I'm law and order, even if they're not. So this is what that's kind of in the vein of, but it's kind of an issue when, number one, you zoom out and say, okay, how much do we trust the approach of Republicans to managing crime? Well, a lot of the worst crime states are red states. They'll ignore that until the day that they die. And number two, we saw this historic plummet in violent crime in Biden's years in office. And this historic investment in public safety may be a part of, even though it's more complicated than that, why DC saw a decrease in crime. Stephen Ratner said in recent years, crime in DC has hovered at decades-long lows. This is just another example of Trump needlessly deploying the National Guard for political theatrics. He ought to take our troops more seriously. This is not to say, like, I was looking at the homicide rate in Washington, D.C. It's bad. It is bad compared to other safer cities. And they've long had a problem with that. But again, a comprehensive approach to crime reduction is great. Trump trying to just throw the troops around and take control in this PR-focused way isn't the solution. And this is the same Trump administration. Trump's Department of Justice slashed an estimated $500 million in federal funding to programs to help local and state justice initiatives, including policing, crime prevention, victim services, and juvenile justice. And that's something I want to get into as we continue through this presser, which is that Trump is actually on the more systemic level, because enforcement is an important part of crime reduction, obviously. But you also have those causes, right? The crime's never happening, so you don't have to punish people. And Trump's attack on our social safety nets and his exacerbation of economic desperation is the type of behavior that over the long run is going to worsen public safety. Then you have him indicating next, it's different. I'm sure this is going to bring legal challenges. I'm not a lawyer, but obviously it's different with DC given the federal oversight. But he's also going, and we're going to do the same thing with other cities, which would be insane.
It is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say.
As you say. Very quickly, as they say. They don't say that. That's just, I mean, yeah, what? Those are just normal words. You know the old phrase, we're going to do it quickly. You know the old phrase, just do it, Nike. Ryan Goodman said, break through the noise. This step in D.C. is a pilot project for militarizing other American streets. President Trump just said so, even when D.C. violent crime is down 26%. Reminder of August leaked memo. Yeah, and, you know, Trump's hope here probably, it's kind of like, to go back to the LA example, somewhere in his heart he knew, given the lack of severity, even with the cases that I denounced a ton, of protests turning into riots, like our beloved Waymos being attacked. There's a lot I would do to protect the Waymo, but I was critical of Trump's step here because it actually seemingly sought to exacerbate tension so that he could have more of a crisis. But he knew in his heart that local law enforcement was going to be able to handle it and get it under control. So when they did and the National Guard wasn't really doing anything, he got to say, I got LA under control. It's going to be the same thing here. He's seeing that the trends through the Biden years and in D.C. specifically, right as he was taking office, you saw these numbers about the 30-year low violent crime, or right? Yes, 30-year low, good, and the 20-something% decrease. And he's hoping that trend continues, and then he takes credit for it. Just like economic metrics, it's so blatant. Please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show. It's free, but you support it algorithmically.
And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A.
And there we go. Okay. He's about to say the thing I just already fact-checked. So it would be burnt. What is he going to say? Burnt to the ground. L.A. would be gone. I'm curious what phrase he's going to use.
3 months ago, L.A. would be burning like the part that didn't burn.
Yeah, nailed it. Okay. So, I mean, that's... For him to be so casually going, I don't even know what he means logistically. Just National Guard? Or is he talking about some sort of federal takeover similar to what he's doing here? I don't know. But to say that about random cities is chilling. Responding to President Donald Trump's plan to put D.C. police under federal control, D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab called the move unprecedented, unnecessary, and unlawful. And again, I just think we need to keep in mind, we all want the best of public safety. Absolutely. And the violent crime is too high in D.C. as it is in so many different places. And I don't just mean that because any crime's too high. That too. But because D.C. has had unique problems with that compared to other American cities. But Trump has a proven track record, and he's doing it right now in overseeing the exact opposite policies than what would benefit us on the public safety front. And so it's perfectly reasonable to go, oh no, here's another military parade, chest beating, authoritarian PR move, maybe as a trial run. But this is the administration that was cutting funding to public safety investments. That's coming after the record investments in violence reduction, public safety, law enforcement under the Biden administration. And him restricting some of that. And so it's tough for him to act like there's this federal crisis when he took office after all of this progress had been made on reducing crime in a historic fashion, really. Look at the numbers, MAGA, if you don't agree with me. You don't have to like Biden. We did the Biden blunders compilation in the last segment. You cannot like that he says he grew up in the Puerto Rican community. Fine. But you cannot like his story about how he went to the bank. He saw two well-dressed men when he was 16 kissing each other. He looked at his dad. He said, "What the hell, Dad?" And his dad said, "They love each other, Joe. It's that simple." And he said, "Wow. You don't have to like that story. You don't have to like the story about his uncle being eaten by a cannibal or something." But the numbers are there.
Guess what?
Grows the economy. Than this.
Until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. But they fought back against law enforcement last night. And they're not going to be fighting back long, because I've instructed them and told them whatever happens, they love to spit in the face of the police as the police are standing up there in uniform. They're standing and they're screaming at them.
Maybe don't do this. Just a little friendly advice. Don't do the thing where you bring your chin closer. It creates a little bit of a problem. I say with love.
Up there in uniform, they're standing and they're screaming at them an inch away from their face. And then they start spitting in their face. And I said, you tell them, you spit and we hit. And they can hit real hard.
Okay. Profound stuff. We just left DC after a year being there, and Trump obviously overstates the hellscape status. And let's be honest, I think Jaden Cole and I can admit that the real path to reducing crime is for more Jaden and Lukes out there. Sorry, Cole, you sat on the couch. You didn't get up and help us. Who, upon something being snatched off our doorstep, we launched into action. I sprinted to the door. I swung the door open. It slammed in my face. I was concussed. Jaden jumped over me. Didn't ask how I was as I was wailing on the ground. Cole didn't budge from the couch. Beautiful. And we chased down the MFer who stole my new sweaters. You just need more people like that. Okay? And upon catching him, he said, "Hey, I have your bag. It's over there in the alley. Let me go get it and I'll bring it back to you." And because we are the real deal, we said, "All right, we trust you. Go get it and bring it back." And we never saw him again. And so what that story should teach you is that Trump doesn't need to sit at the National Guard because, okay, you just need to post us up and we'll stop him because we caught him and then we believed him. But we're not naive anymore. I mean, you just need us we had a 7-Eleven we loved. But it was rowdy, okay? And did we catch some shoplifters while we were going in to get our energy drink? Yeah, we did. So you need more of us. Luke, Jaden, Trump, Sheets. That's my phrase, okay? And then you have Pam Bondi saying crime's ending in D.C., which is exciting.
Let me be crystal clear. Crime in D.C. is ending and ending today. We are going to...
No, that doesn't make any sense. Well, cool. I hope so. Hey, best of luck. Unless it's illegal, then stop. And what's going to happen is they're seeing a trend of a... They're at this historic low for D.C. that has had unique problems. It's going to tick down again like it has been under Biden. And Trump's going to say it's because of his action. I'm just telling you, that's what's going to happen. So just get ready for it. Trump said this.
So if you have countries where every Saturday the people go out and they wash their sidewalks in front of their stores or their houses, they scrub their sidewalks. So we aren't quite at that level yet, I don't think, Gaddy. We're not quite there yet, but maybe we will.
Did he say daddy? Who did he say?
You're my daddy. So we aren't quite at that level yet, I don't think, Gaddy. We're not quite there yet,
Gaddy.
but maybe.
Gaddy's Pizza. Ooh. I'm hungry.
We will. They go out and they scrub. I think it's so beautiful to hear that and to see those stories. But we're going to make it clean. But just to finish with you.
What? The non sequitur, or the random tangents are so, there's countries where they scrub the street, which they scrub the street in DC too. But I guess he's saying like shop owners, they go outside, they're just so community minded. But again, go back to this Trump's exacerbation of income inequality, this reverse Robin Hood law he just signed, this dismantling of the social safety net, ripping away of funds to education, to the youths, okay? Because we got to make sure we reach the youths if we're going to prevent crime, etc., that he's doing. It's the exact opposite of the type of political actions that are taken in the countries where he has this idyllic sense of what their communities look like. He's probably thinking of some of those European countries that have much more extensive social safety nets, have income inequality under control much more, invest properly in communities in a way that provides the opportunities and the stability and the decency of life that reduces the chances of crime and gives people a better sense of community. He's doing the opposite of that. I was going to show you Chris Murphy is talking about this. I'll play it. Let's see.
Let's be clear about what's going on here. Donald Trump says that he is taking control of the Washington, D.C. police force today because violent crime is out of control in the capital city. But you know what are the two cities in America with the highest rates of homicide? It's not Washington, D.C. It's St. Louis, Missouri, and Memphis, Tennessee. Those are cities in two states run by Republican governors. In fact, if you look at the states that have the highest murder rates, the highest rates of violent crime, by and large, they are Republican states, not Democratic states. States like Connecticut, Massachusetts, California, amongst the safest states in the nation. This isn't about the safety of the people of Washington, D.C. This is about a president who is desperate to distract the conversation in this country away from what he is doing, to monetize the White House, to make himself rich off of his position, to distract this country from the Epstein debacle, his attempt to try to shield the rich and powerful from accountability, and the healthcare crisis that is coming in this country when millions of people get thrown off their healthcare insurance and millions more in just a few months have their premiums jacked up because of what Donald Trump has done to try to...
Yeah, that's Democratic Senator. And I mean, it's right. He said distract from the Epstein stuff. Look at this.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Attorney General, the Justice Department appeal the Epstein decision today, Mr. President?
How long will the takeover of D.C. police last?
You hear that question? Look at Kash Patel. I can't hear you. Are you gonna really? I don't even know what this said. Something Epstein. Patel's like, I'm just gonna stare at Pam Bondi's blonde hair. Look at this. Oh my gosh, look at Janine Pirro's face. Wow. Oh, Doug Burgum still exists. Cool. That's fun. Jessica Tarlov said he's going to take over DC to avoid talking about Epstein. Handsome guy, good guy said, I thought Nancy Pelosi controlled the National Guard. That was me, as Trump would say.
Soy boy beta cuck, Luke Beasley.
The reason I said this, I thought Nancy Pelosi controlled the National Guards, because you'll remember that Trump, after January 6th, blamed Nancy Pelosi for the National Guard not being called in promptly. Or sometimes he would accidentally blame Nikki Haley when he was thinking of Nancy Pelosi.
By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it.
False.
Because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people. Soldiers, National Guard, whatever they want. They turned it down. They don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting political structure we have in the United States where the National Guard, the DC National Guard, is controlled by the former governor and former U.S. ambassador, former governor of South Carolina. We just sort of, sorry, we do it differently here. And the way that we do it is we just say, hey, former governor of South Carolina, you get to choose what the National Guard of DC does. Now he was trying to say Nancy Pelosi. So then there were those other clips and other rallies where he's like, no, they say that I'm not cognitively, but I am cognitive, or I'm not
cognitively.
But really, and they say it's because I said Nikki Haley when I meant Nancy Pelosi, but what they don't get is that I'm doing a merge. I'm saying I don't like Nikki Haley like I don't like Nancy Pelosi. And so when I'm blaming Nikki Haley for the National Guard, I'm really blaming Nancy Pelosi because you get it. But apparently now Trump is in control of the National Guard. Wow. Share your thoughts in the comments.